Breaking today, growing fears for Prince Harry after he went missing in Africa for 3 days, completely out of contact with his wife, Meghan Markle, and children in order to spend time with this woman, TJ Evans, who is described as a mother like figure. Now, this is a truly bizarre story. It has been linked to the Sussexes' new Omid Scobie figure, Charlotte Griffiths, who's trying to say that this is all so brilliant. But of course, it flies in the face of everything that Harry has said previously about his need to keep in constant contact with Meghan, constant contact with the kids. And we know that this is the guy, let's be honest, in the midst of one heck of a breakdown. We're going to get analysis from Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, in just one moment, plus all of the other major royal stories of the day. But first, let's get into this story broken by the Mail on Sunday in a very bizarre way yesterday. Prince Harry went off grid and was uncontactable during secret 3-day visit to Botswana. The newspaper reported, and this is Charlotte Griffiths, remember. After completing his work with landmine clearing Halo Trust charity in Angola, he is believed to have travelled to the neighbouring country of Botswana last weekend. There, he is thought to have met with a mother figure in his life who lives in southern Africa called Tanya T.J. Jenkins. He calls her mom. She and her husband, Mike Holding, played a pivotal role in Harry's life for many years before he met Meghan. They were so important to him that he flew his future wife to introduce her to them within a month of meeting her in 2016. It is unusual for the Duke to spend so long away from the family home in Montecito, California without Meghan. Trips abroad without her usually involve a tight turnaround, with Harry jetting home after just 2 or 3 days. So, Brittany, this incredibly weird piece was actually buried in a lot of other new exclusive information that Charlotte Griffiths is pushing out there for Prince Harry, which we will come to. But to me, this is by far the biggest story. Harry's gone completely off grid. No one knows where he is for 3 days. Uncontactable on the phone. Uncontactable by Meghan. Not speaking to his children, who he usually claims that he's in contact with. What the hell about the security implications, given that this is a man who says that he's unsafe in the United Kingdom? And of course, Brittany, it comes so soon after all of the rumours about Harry suffering this breakdown or meltdown, or however you want to portray it. Clearly, this is not a well man.
No, and I think in many ways too, Dan, you could see this as an extension of the crisis going on in Harry's life and how he's trying to sort of build bridges back to his old life pre-Meghan. So you have the attempts to have a secret peace summit. And this particular trip to Angola and then Botswana, he's, walking in his mother's footsteps, and then he's going and spending time with people who he considers to be an extended part of his family without contacting his wife and kids. And you have, in addition to that, the collapse of the Netflix deal. Harry, I think, is just absolutely floundering. He has no clue what's going on, no clue what to do. He desperately wants to be royal again, but he has to align with what Meghan wants. And I think he's just feeling pulled in multiple different directions and has no clue where to go. And I think sometimes, probably for him, like the best thing he can do with Meghan is just not speak to her for a couple of days, just check out. And this is definitely a departure from their previous behavior, which has almost seemed very sort of mother son in some ways, and very like too connected. Like they constantly have to be in contact with each other, constantly have to be touching. It's a little odd. So this is definitely a departure, and you could see it reflected as a potential breakdown in their dynamic for sure.
Totally. And we know he's done. I mean, we know he's done. He can't cope with her, especially at the moment. I mean, look at this as
Mm,
how a source tried to justify it, Brittany. This
mm.
time, he took some more time and space and made the trip into a week-long visit to reconnect with old friends and get some headspace away from his phones and emails. He went off comms for 2 days or so. It was a good moment for Harry to take some time away from everything, enjoying total peace of mind and being somewhere so remote that he couldn't get emails or texts or calls. Well, Brittany, I call bullshit on that, because if you're Prince Harry and you're traveling around the world, you can always get calls and
Mhm.
emails. Even in remote Africa now, there's loads of ways to do so with satellite phones and that type of thing. So I do not believe that for a single second. I think this was a choice that he made. And of course, it's a choice that he has made coming off the back of what has been arguably the most stressful week for Meghan in recent months, after news of the Netflix deal falling apart was leaked.
Exactly. I'm sure he is well aware, and I'm sure they knew even before the news leaked that this Netflix deal was going to go away, and he probably didn't want to deal with his wife's freak out over it because he's
Totally.
over it. Totally wants to at this point. He's like, I want to go down my separate path. He's like, we're going in two different directions career-wise. He just wants to do the charity thing. He's not really even submitting any money, you could say, to the family coffers except through speaking engagements. So he's like, I know my wife is going to be having an absolute meltdown. I know it's going to be horrifically awful to be at home. So I want to be as far away as humanly possible on the other side of the world so I don't have to deal with my wife and her panic. And I mean, you could say that's not really a great move by Harry, the husband, but I mean, what else can happen? Megan kind of set up this toxic dynamic between them, and he just needs to escape every once in a while. And who can blame the guy, to be honest?
Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may. Totally. And let's just also remember, Brittany, he made a very clear choice for her not to be there. That was his call. He told the Halo Trust he wanted this time on his own. So this was a plan, but we know particularly that usually he would at least be communicating in some way. So the fact that he hasn't is very, very significant. But look, the Mail on Sunday, as we know, as we have pointed out, Brittany now for the past 2 weeks, they're operating as the new propagandist on behalf of Prince Harry. And this weekend, the story that they wanted to push, rather than the fact that the Duke went missing in Africa, was this story. You'll see it at the top of the front page there, revealed Harry's significant peace offering to the king. Revealed the major peace offering Prince Harry has made to the royal family. Insiders tell Charlotte Griffiths what secret talks between Team Sussex and the palace are really about. And so before I go into the details of this, what is very, very clear is that this is spin. This is again an attempt to sort of try and prove to the royal family and in turn the British public that Harry is the one doing the right thing, that he is being magnanimous in these talks, that he is prepared to change. Whereas I think when you actually look at what the offering is, it's tiny and means absolutely nothing until there's a full-throttled apology. So this also from Charlotte Griffiths. Prince Harry has offered to share his official diary engagements with the royal family in a bid to further reduce tensions between him and his father. The peace offering aimed at avoiding a repetition of the date clash that resulted in his trip to Angola, knocking coverage of Queen Camilla's birthday off the front pages. And of course, we spoke about that at the time. A source telling Charlotte Griffiths before that meeting, we know the source is obviously friends of Harry, before that meeting between their aides in London, conflicts of interest or clashes of publicity were relished and even perhaps encouraged by the Sussexes. Now Harry has shifted into a new way of thinking. The tone is all about de-conflicting with his family. That's why his household agreed to draw up a grid of his activities and share them with Buckingham Palace and by extension with Kensington Palace. Harry still doesn't like being controlled by the royal machinery and that won't change. However, if the royal family have full sight of his movements, they can at least plan accordingly. It's a significant gesture. A source telling the newspaper this was some type of milestone, and then adding the new diary sharing arrangement, even believed to extend to Prince William's court at Kensington Palace. It is hoped the move to deconflict their diaries could lead to the king and his younger son finally being able to fix a date in their busy schedules to meet face to face. But, and there are major buts from this, because Charlotte Griffiths then appeared on GB News and she made 2 things clear. Firstly, this is just a very blatant attempt for Harry to meet the king in September, and the king still doesn't want to do that. Well done, Charles. Absolutely the right decision. But more specifically, she actually pointed out that the diary isn't being shared directly with William and Kensington Palace, but rather Buckingham Palace, who then might choose to pass it on to William, which is really naive because, trust me, there's also a lot of competition that goes on between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. Watch this.
They do that stuff deliberately, Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, I think
you see it all the time.
do.
You see Catherine doing something nice for the charity, and then Meghan will release some picture of her and Lilibet, you know, on Instagram, completely over. It happens all the time, and it's not by chance at all. So basically, Harry is saying that I'll stop being a bugger and play ball.
Yeah, basically. And on the William thing, he's not going to give the grid, it's called, directly to William, but he's giving it to the King, to Buckingham Palace, to the King's aides, and then they are going to pass it down to William.
It always makes me laugh, Charlotte, how we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about how there was talks between the aides of King Charles and his son Harry. It always makes me laugh how you've got this family, you've got the father, you've got a couple of brothers and whatever else. You always have to go through the aides and the schedulers and the diarists and stuff. Just like your family members, just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'll give you my diary if you want. Let's share it on the iPhone or something.
Yeah, that would involve a conversation between Harry and his father doesn't trust his son enough to have a direct conversation.
So if that's the case, so if the king can't even trust his own son to have a conversation, how on earth and how the hell are they going to be reconciling?
Well, they're building up to that. They are building up to that. At the moment, the security issue is still up in the air, and that's the big thing that Charles can't talk to his son about. He's worried that if he just picks up the phone and has a little chat, Harry will start going, and what about my security? And that's actually, you know, it's got legal implications. So, but that's why I'm told it's a glacial pace that they're building up to actually seeing each other face to face. Glacial. Because, you know, Harry's hoping for September. He's coming over to the UK in September. He's hoping to meet his dad there, but there's no chance. They need more time, and that's classic Buckingham Palace. They move so slowly, and as you say, everything's so formal, it has to go through aides. So I think they'll probably meet maybe by Christmas, more likely next year.
Will Meghan be there?
No.
No. Is that one of the conditions, you think? Meghan stays away?
I don't know if it's a condition... I think it's an implicit condition, not an explicit condition.
But Charlotte, you were doing the bidding for Harry here. That's what's so frustrating about this. And in reality, you should know that this is not about Buckingham Palace moving at a glacial pace. You're constantly trying to put the blame on them. This is because of the behaviour over the past 5 years, or even longer actually, of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And things can't just snap back. By the way, on the diary stuff, I've had some interesting responses. Harry, Meghan, Spear posted, Charlotte Griffiths has been super busy lately. The Sussexes have leaked via Ms. Griffiths that Prince Harry has now offered to share his official diary with the royal family in order not to overlap or date clash with the palace's schedules. Well, the palace should not have any issues or conflict with Harry's diary, as it's almost certainly filled with a sea of blank pages. I mean, seriously. And according to Taz added, the major peace offering Harry has made to the royal family, Harry's household has agreed to draw up a grid of his diary movements. How gracious of him, with a major tongue-in-cheek there, Brittany. And look, this is so not some big gesture from Prince Harry, is it? Because at the end of the day, it's not being shared to William. And I think, again, this is really, and I find it so surprising, and we've got to keep calling it out, Brittany, it is Charlotte Griffiths and the Mail on Sunday trying to force movement from Buckingham Palace, constantly acting as the as the propaganda machine, not paparazzi, propaganda machine of the Sussexes, when actually, why should they ever have to move at all? There's no need for anything to move or for anything to change. But first, don't eat breakfast until you learn about caloric bypass. Your breakfast is setting you up for the entire day to either gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you eat dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after 8 to 12 hours of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat for energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores, where they are converted into ketone bodies through a process called ketogenesis. Then, when you eat breakfast in the morning, the body starts the cycle again. This is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, a heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs or medium-chain triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of food that contain these MCTs. Using this breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose 70 pounds just through diet, and he did this in his 60s. You can find out all about it and his exact method by going to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. That's thehealthyfat.com/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below. It is important to remember that everyone's body processes fat differently, and it all depends on your unique metabolic type. which is why in the video he released for my viewers, he talks all about it. It's quite fascinating. It might change the way you think about your health. So go to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
No, and especially when it comes to the diary, Dan, like this is just so minor to do. And what you'll notice throughout this whole thing is that the name that is not mentioned is Meghan. Sure, Harry might control himself, but he's not in control of his wife, clearly. And so, regardless of what Harry does, if Meghan doesn't go along with it, it doesn't mean anything. It's completely and utterly pointless because he dances to her tune all the time. Unless this is just the beginning steps of a perhaps a divorce in the future. Because obviously, if Harry's wife will constantly clash with the royals, I mean, how are they supposed to build trust with him when as a team? Because when you're married, you are a team. If one of the members of the team doesn't care about the plan and the schedule, like it means nothing. It's pointless. And so truly this is absolutely completely and utterly pointless because Harry and Meghan are not on the same page when it comes to this. Meghan doesn't care. All she's in it for is the money, the attention, the fame, the fortune. And as her opportunities in Hollywood dwindle, she'll compete with the royals more and more, share more secrets, do those sorts of things because that has always been in her back pocket for those moments when the crisis is truly setting in and the money is stopping to flow. And that's what's happening here with this whole Netflix situation. And so, definitely, there is no doubt in my mind that, yeah, Harry might share his diary and maybe it'll be shared with William, maybe not. But none of that matters unless Harry's wife goes along with this plan. If she doesn't, this is completely and utterly meaningless.
It is. And you're so right. Of course, it won't include Meghan's diary. Of course, it won't.
Mhm.
And also, I think we're underestimating just how disorganized Meghan is too. Like, often her things are decided at the last minute because, as we've discussed, there's zero strategy behind what she's doing. More humiliation for Meghan over the weekend, though, Brittany. There was the closing of the Beyonce Cowboy Carter tour. And look who was there. Oprah, Gayle King, what's that dodgy dude, what's his name?
Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry, dodgy dude who's been sued for sexual harassment. And Gayle King posted grand opening, grand closing here in Las Vegas with the Cowboy crew to see Beyonce close out her historic Cowboy Carter tour. And as Harry Meghan's spare pointed out, wait, but where is Meghan? I see all her besties showing up at the Beyonce concert, but no Meghan. Oprah, Gayle, Kerry Washington, Kris Jenner, Khloe Kardashian, even Tyler Perry, but no Meghan. Oh, is there trouble in Montecito Paradise? And the thing is, Brittany, this is going to hurt her. This is going to hurt her. It's just like the Jeff Bezos wedding. She's not in this very exclusive crew. I mean, as it turns out, I think the exclusive crew is pretty awful, but it's absolutely where Meghan wants to be and where she expected to be by now.
Yes, this is why she invited Oprah Winfrey to her wedding, is that she wanted to be a part
Yes.
of this elite crew. And now they're kind of sort of ignoring her. And this shouldn't be a surprise. Again, it's so interesting that the numbers, the Netflix numbers came out right before Netflix basically leaked that they weren't going to renew her deal. Meghan has had 5 years in Hollywood to prove herself, and they had a one-hit wonder, and that was it. Everything else has been an epic disaster. And as time has gone on, the toxicity level and the disdain for Harry and Meghan has only increased. And so it doesn't benefit any of these people really from too closely associating with Meghan Markle. She has nothing to offer them. She can't offer them the British royal family. She has no contact with them. She can't offer them money because they have more money than she does. She can't offer them jobs. They have more jobs and create more jobs than she does. Like, she has nothing to offer them, and yet she's desperately trying to be part of that club, and they're just not really all that interested. They're sort of, again, this is a Hollywood thing. They'll keep her somewhat within their orbit, but if you're looking at the solar system, she's basically like Neptune out there, way out there, or Pluto. She's in the periphery, but she is not part of the elite club because they can't risk associating with her. She can't help them at all. So they'll keep her around just in case the divorce happens, but I think that's it.
Now, Brittany, just as I predicted, Team Sussex are now pushing back on the end of the Netflix deal. Way too late, by the way, because it's like everyone's reported this. It's the truth. All of your allies reported it. And of course, it's Charlotte Griffiths, the new favourite, who got the story on Sunday. Meghan locked in negotiations for new Netflix deal. Now, this is the ultimate spin, okay? Like, I read this article and I was like, oh my God, how are you buying this? But she says the Mail on Sunday can reveal that the second series of With Love Meghan will be the first show to air under the renewed agreement, and it is due for release this autumn. Now, that's already completely untrue because I know how deals work. With Love Meghan was made under the previous deal. So that's a joke. Then she goes on saying, last night sources close to the streaming giant said, make no mistake, a deal is being worked through as we speak. While the finer details remain a closely guarded secret, it is expected that the Duchess is unlikely to secure the same financial deal. Yeah, no sugar, Sherlock. It is also not thought that Harry will form a major part of the new contract as he is increasingly focused on his charity work. And the source said, if you're in the top third of Netflix, you're getting another deal. It is understood that Meghan's new series was filmed at the same time as series 1 was recorded. Another source said whatever happens at the end of the contract is that people renegotiate, but when doing any kind of commercial negotiation, both sides are not allowed to talk about it. Netflix is a listed company, so they can't say anything or confirm anything officially yet that a new deal is happening, but that deal is not dead. Netflix are an equity partner in As Ever, so they were unlikely to drop Meghan. It serves them to promote her and her lifestyle brand via the With Love Meghan show. It would be like punching yourself in the face not to sign a new deal. People point to Polo as a flop, but it's worth remembering that Harry and Meghan was the biggest documentary on Netflix ever in 2022. That alone could have afforded them 50 flops, and it would still have been worth it for Netflix. With Love Meghan has been worth it too. It's done really well, especially in America, which is the only place that matters. So, I mean, Brittany, this is almost like North Korean propaganda material that we're reading here. Like, I mean, it's so ludicrous. But this was always what they were going to come and do because she's very quickly worked out that Paramount Plus isn't going to happen. No one else is interested. So a first look deal with Netflix is better than nothing. But there's no money behind a deal like that. And you're not being paid for a series that's already been filmed at the same time. But this is what Charlotte Griffiths had to say during that appearance on GB News last night.
They're renegotiating the deal at the moment. I don't think she's going to get another $100 million deal, that is for sure. And I don't even think it will be particularly television related, although there is one more series of her show, With Love Meghan, due to come out. But that's only because it was filmed already with the first one. But anyway, long story short, the Netflix deal actually isn't over completely. It's being renegotiated at the moment. But they've all signed NDAs, so it hasn't come out. So I think those that don't like Meghan will be disappointed to hear.
Well, I, for one...
She's still going strong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so untrue as well. Like, there are no NDAs that stop Netflix from saying, oh, no, those pieces are untrue. We're signing a new deal, Brittany. There's nothing... the fact they're a publicly listed company. I mean, this is like the PR team, Brittany, working so hard to try and convince us that red is yellow.
Oh yes. Like when you read it, it's almost laughably bad how diluted it is and how disconnected from reality it is to say that you had one success in 2022 and somehow you can still continue to have 50 flops after that and people are going to still pay you $100 million is absolutely out of your mind. That just goes to prove that the only reason their initial series was successful at all had nothing to do with them and everything to do with kind of pulling back the curtain on the British monarchy. That's why anybody watched. And so this kind of gymnastics, this PR gymnastics that they're trying to do, and I don't think Charlotte Griffiths is doing herself any favors by sort of propagating this because it's just PR for deluded fools, really. It makes no sense. It's not based in hard numbers. Or again, is no mistake why Netflix basically told the world, hey, we're not renewing Netflix. I mean, or Meghan, we have no clue kind of who decided when, but Netflix told us Meghan wasn't getting renewed basically right after the numbers were released. That's not a mistake. It was them saying, hey, we've seen her numbers. They're not good. We're not renewing. And a first look deal is basically a way to slowly push a creator out the door, give them a little dignity in the process, because there's zero guarantee that Netflix is going to pick up anything she does. There's zero guarantee. And if they do, let's say instead of getting $20 million per project, because they've had 5 projects, and if you divide that out by 100, they're 20 million each, they'll give her 200,000 instead.
Totally. And it feels very unrealistic to me, Brittany, that there are going to be any new projects, given how much she would previously talk about, oh, we've got this on the slate, we've got that on the slate. And it's just like the Obamas with Netflix. Like, actually, people don't want to watch Obama's crappy content. And so as a result, the deal sort of ended. Now, Brittany, I want to talk about Princess Charlotte, because there was quite a big moment for her overnight. Congratulations to the England Lionesses, who won the 2nd consecutive Euros, which is obviously a big deal given that female football, or as you call it, Brittany, soccer, is growing by the day. But what was significant from a royal point of view was not so much that Prince William was at the final, though of course you will remember a couple of years ago he was criticised for not going to the final of the FIFA Female Football World Cup in Australia because it was over summer. But obviously this was a much closer trip for Charlotte. And so he took Charlotte to the final in Spain. The Prime Minister said, but look, she was even on the field as the presentation was being announced. And some people are sort of saying that this was almost like her first official little job, Brittany.
I think it was, which is so cute. I also loved how, in addition to William and Charlotte being there, we also had Princess Leonor and Infanta Sofia of Spain, because it was Spain versus the United Kingdom. And so I thought it was great for Charlotte to have her first kind of real solo royal role with her father. Obviously, she went to a sporting event with both of her parents. I want to say it was back in 2022, 2023. And so this was sort of her first big solo jaunt in a foreign country. And so she got to go with her dad, I think had a fantastic time and is sort of learning the ropes. And I think it's always so fun to see, and Leonor and Sophia, who are a bit older, they're just in their late teens, early 20s, and, can kind of give her some encouragement as well as Charlotte navigates, because they've done it. They've been in the public eye since they were infants as well. And so I think to have that shared camaraderie between the young ladies is very sweet to see. And so I'm very excited to see Charlotte kind of growing on the international stage with all the young royal ladies. It's just so fun to see them come to see Charlotte do more of these, hopefully in the future.
Indeed. And Brittany, some more news on William and Catherine revealed over the weekend. Discussion that they are potentially considering upsizing their house, moving from Adelaide Cottage, which is a very small home within the grounds of Windsor, to Fort Belvedere, which is very interesting because it's where Edward VIII sealed his abdication. So you could argue it's had a bit of sort of negative royal history connected to it. But this is very interesting, Brittany. Look, I was the first to reveal a long time ago, God, it must be 3 or 4 years ago now, that they were eyeing up Royal Lodge, which is where Prince Andrew lives in Windsor Castle, but was previously home of the Queen Mother. We know Andrew has dug his heels in. He is not giving up that home. He is not moving to Frogmore Cottage, which was the alternative put forward by the royal family. So this feels like a good option, given we've also learned over the weekend, Brittany, that discussions for them to move into Windsor Castle, a wing of Windsor Castle, have been deemed not viable.
Yeah, this is a very interesting story. That Fort Belvedere was obviously suggested as an option when it was first announced that they were moving closer to Windsor back in 2022. And so they moved to Adelaide Cottage in August of 2022. And then obviously the Queen passed away in September. And so for me, I always thought Adelaide Cottage is quite small. And as obviously their position in the family has grown and as their kids are getting bigger, obviously more space would be sort of nice within the home. But my other thought here is something that wasn't covered in some of the reports, is that there's been at least 2 security breaches in Windsor rather recently. Somebody came in and actually stole some material, and they were actually fairly close to Catherine and William's home because the entrance isn't too far from their residence. And so I'm curious as well if security issues may be part of the reason why maybe to move to this home instead. Maybe it has a little bit better cushion for protection. So I'm curious what this means, but I think it is very opportune for them because there is a tennis court there. Pool gives the kids a lot of activities, especially as they're getting bigger and older. So I think this is definitely feasible for sure. And it's not a surprise to me in the slightest that they would be considering a move.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder, Brittany, what the future holds for King William too, because I would say the hint from this is that he intends to live at Windsor Castle. And of course, that has not been confirmed. But we know that King Charles III is not going to move into Buckingham Palace. He's been able to use the fact that it's been renovated and that he's going through cancer treatment and that he obviously loves Clarence House. And it's a bit like, why would you put him through that type of upheaval? But he never wanted to move into Buckingham Palace. So I think Buckingham Palace will increasingly become the ceremonial home of the British royal family, but we will not see a head of state actually live there again. I'm a little bit sad about that. But to me, it feels like William is very much saying, no, Windsor is our home. And probably as king, you would see him eventually move into Windsor Castle. But of course, if you do want all of our royal exclusives that you will not get from the MSM or the Royal Rota, then please do sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live. You get first access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show in full, advertising free, either live or on demand, Monday to Friday. So just sign up at www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.